Welcome to the latest episode of the Crafty Boys, where we get together, talk about stuff, and drink beer, and eventually get around to reviewing the beer, and usually we like it. A few times we don't like it. But today's episode has a special sponsor. It is sponsored by the United States Space Command, the Colonial Marine Corps. They are going to be sponsoring us for the next few episodes because it's really important to know that Greta approves. Okay, so... Hi, boys. How's it going?
Going well.
We are the current. We bought some support on the USS. What was it called? The Sulaco. So you know, we're legit now.
Sweet.
But anyway,
I'm gonna tell my mom that I'm legit now.
We're totally legit because it's collaborative time. All right. So I'm getting really excited about that. Okay, Dave, you're drinking beer tonight,
right.
so you get to go first. This still floors me every single week that you're actually bringing out some beers. So,
well, I'm gonna try it for a little bit here, see how things go in terms of the guts here. But this is what I found. Also, some laziness. I'll have to admit that. But this is the what is it? Souk something brewing. What is
Souk
it?
Oceanside.
Souk Oceanside. Thank you.
Souk something brewing.
Yeah.
That's actually a good name for a brewery.
Wait, that's some good research there, Dave. Thanks for coming out.
No, I remembered.
We know all about it now.
Whatever. So, I actually really like this label. It's really cool. It's very
it's pretty badass.
Bonfire.
Yeah. So
Was it
what kind of
bonfire?
beer is
as
that?
it shows, blonde ale,
Okay.
and it is an actual bonfire on there.
I like the initials are SOB.
Yeah,
That's
totally. One of these days, I would like to actually go in. Have you ever been, Alan?
Not to Souk Oceanside, no.
Right.
I would love to make a trip.
There's
out
been a
there.
COVID thing.
I want to go out to Souk Oceanside, and I want to go to Souk Brewing.
Yeah, I think it'll be worth doing.
Souk.
So
All right. So what does it say on the can?
Okay, can says ingredients: water, malt, hops, yeast, unfiltered. Okay, so there must be Lee's in here, right?
Yes.
And on the backside, a distinctively West Coast style blonde ale. Bonfire Blonde is bright, crisp, and highlighted with the flavors and aromas of the famous Citra hops. Subtle notes of citrus fruit lend a light finish to a beer best enjoyed in front of any type of fire. Listen, Putin, you just keep your shit out of here. And it's got these weird little symbol thingies. It can't.
Hold on. Show me the symbol thingies. I do.
What are the symbol?
Well,
thingies?
they're like little color bars that are supposed to show you color. So that skids almost to as light as you can get, according to this. Malt is quite pale. So it's almost like it's barely been roasted, just like flame kissed. And then IBUs, I don't know.
Non-existent.
Well, no, actually, it's not.
Huh?
I'm guessing, I don't know what, like a 15 or 20?
Really?
Yeah, well, by looking at this thing, it's a little hard to say, but if that's 50, I'm going to say, 20 seems reasonable.
Okay.
For this, yeah. So made in Canada, imagine that. And this is 5% on the nose.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Don't keep us in suspense.
Yeah. Tell us how it tastes.
And just so you know that I'm actually pouring it
Very light
properly,
in color.
and then see what kind of head we get on this thing.
Decent looking
Whoop.
head.
Totally. Oh yeah, that's nice.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is blonde, boys.
Nicely poured, sir.
Yeah.
Nicely poured.
That is very definitely blonde, huh?
Oh yeah.
No, it smells like a beer.
For an unfiltered beer that looks pretty clear.
Yeah.
smells like a beer. That's
always a good
definitely
sign.
Right?
Yeah,
Thumbs
smells
up.
like a beer.
All right.
Arsenic. And
I think it's going to take a couple of more, boys. It's nice. It's
hands
light.
or tastes.
It tastes.
I was like, this beer will get better if I have 2 more.
So often true. of beer.
Yes.
You know what? Everything gets better with 2 more.
Well, I mean, I've said this a billion times, but my palate is still like getting used to different beers, right? So
True.
I find after I've had a little bit of it, then I kind of get a better sense of the flavors and appreciate more of like what's going on. But I gotta say, this is definitely, what do we usually say, like a summer patio thing.
Yeah,
It's light, it's crisp.
definitely.
You know, it's Alan, you've probably had this one.
I have not actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you'd probably not mind this. And like, I don't think it's anything fancy. There is nothing special going on here, but I don't think that was their aim either. I mean, it's a blonde ale, right?
Hmm.
So they probably weren't looking for anything real funky and out in left field with this one. Just a good, blonde ale.
Yeah.
How's the finish on it? Does it leave an aftertaste?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, yes.
Hmm.
But I don't know what you mean by an aftertaste exactly, Locke.
Is it a good aftertaste?
Okay. It's not bad. It's a little I guess the way I would put it is just kind of that a little bit sour aftertaste that you get. I don't know if that's like an ale thing.
It's sort of, I would concur that that's more typical of ales than lagers.
Hmm.
A good lager should have a bitter finish that should leave a sort of a clean edge, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, this and you do I guess I've kind of started to recognize maybe that Citra.
Okay.
I think it's I don't know what you guys think, but it seems to me like it's pretty hard to miss. Right? It's got that.
Yeah, you kind of get that. There's a certain sort of tone to the way that Citra is used, right? So I don't know. I sometimes I miss because sometimes you get it confused with some other ones, but definitely, yeah. I
just
fully
put
support your.
I just put a link in our internal chat here that nobody out there in the public can see. But there was a beer that Souk Oceanside put out last summer, Dave, that as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought of you.
Yeah,
so
man.
it was a Sessions Seltzer Ginger Lime.
Ooh.
And
that shit.
Yeah, I thought you would be totally.
Did you say
into that.
lemon lime?
No, ginger
lime.
Ginger lime, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if they put that out again,
I'm all over it.
Yeah, you should definitely try that one out.
You said summertime. Hey, that's when
It
they
came
released.
out last summer, yeah.
Right.
I could never I wanted to try it and I couldn't find it.
Oh.
And I don't think it's necessarily a beer exactly because
Well,
Session Seltzer.
So I don't know what the volume of product being kicked out by Souk Oceanside Brewery is right now, but I noticed something while you were describing the beer about the tin that it came from. Tell me that's not the prince of a mobile canning line. What we have there, is that not a label on?
It is absolutely. Yeah, it's a pasty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if we have a truck around here. I don't know.
Mind you, they're all the breweries around here are doing that.
They're all doing that now? Yeah.
They're all doing it.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine Phillips ain't. And Driftwood.
Actually, yeah, I believe Phillips is.
Oh, really? Huh.
And even my beer, I'm gonna hide the brewery. It's a Vancouver brewery, but they're a big one, and they're doing the same thing.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. Well, that seems to be the way everybody's going then.
Yeah.
All right.
What's with that? I was wondering why this explosion of tall boys with pasties.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is it easy to recycle?
I think
Don't
it's just
know.
cheaper. It's just cheaper.
Yeah.
Cheaper than glass. Not as much breakage and all that.
All right, Locke.
Fair enough.
What are you drinking tonight?
Tonight, I am drinking the dark roasty tart fruity by, that is right, Muddy York Brewing Company. This is, I don't know what is supposed to be the name here. Oh, there it is. Yes, this is the Gisela Dark Sour with Cherry. 6% alcohol per volume. It contains actual cherries. So ingredients: water, malted barley, wheat, and oats.
Nice.
Lots of stuff going on there. Yeast and sour cherries. These guys are in East York, Ontario, which I take it is the same York that we would consider to be kind of like, part of, mega city Toronto. Not a lot of effervescence. In fact, almost no head whatsoever. It is a sour. Not a particularly sour. This isn't like one of those imperials that I tend to go for. But pleasant flavor. Because cherries are in the mix, I think this counts as a Kirsch beer. But in any event, yeah, pleasant enough. I've seen other renditions of this type of beer that I would maybe gravitate towards before this, just because I tend to go for the really powerful flavors. But there's nothing wrong with this. This is it's just sour enough that it's going to register, but it's still quaffable.
And that seems to be the line right there, right?
Yeah.
Too many sour beers. I got turned. I went sour on sour beers, if you pardon the pun. Basically because too many brewers were trying to, we can take our sour level up to 11,
Yeah.
And it
was like the hop dominance thing was, back in the sort of, early to sort of mid 2000s.
Yeah. So you're enjoying this then?
Yes. Yeah, I believe that I am. It's not race car beer. This isn't something that's going to change your perception of beer generally, but it's a solid execution. You see what I mean about the head, like such as there's any head at all. It's kind of what you expect out of a Pepsi. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It almost looks like a Pepsi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it tastes much better.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Excellent. And has way more alcohol in it than a Pepsi.
Yeah, that's the
I
weird
would say
thing about Pepsi is that it just does not seem to contain as much alcohol as we would expect.
I can't get a buzz off of it, I mean,
I don't know.
I understand the origin of Coca-Cola. The idea was originally there was cocaine in it, but they had to take the cocaine out. What was originally in Pepsi that
Meth.
What is a Pepsi? Or, yeah, meth. That's what it would be.
Pepsi's like trying to they had to up the game like right away. It's like,
Yeah.
well, our competitors have cocaine, so meth, I guess it is.
Yeah.
I was reading a little while ago about the whole coca thing inside in Coke, and they apparently there are still places in the world where you can get coca in it. It's a very minute amount, but apparently you can still get it in like certain jurisdictions or something. So,
Really,
I hear Canada's one of them.
Example of one. Would one of them be Colombia?
To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't actually know. I have to look it up again. But yeah, for the most part, it's gone. So, Alan, speaking of meth, what are you drinking this evening? I recognized part of the can there earlier. So
so I was trying to get the same thing as you, Shane, but I couldn't find it. So I got something that's similar from the same brewery. So it's from Strange Fellows, which is in Vancouver.
Oh yeah, we know some Strange Fellows.
Yeah. So it is their Blackmail Northwest Stout. It comes in.
What is that bird doing?
It's just sitting there.
Well, it's doing its thing.
I don't know this bird. It looks like I don't know if you guys remember this. I don't know.
Is it a Nazi bird?
It's not a Nazi bird. But you know what it reminds me of? Just looking at this, and this just came into my mind. There was a little segment on Sesame Street when we were kids with, I remember, a black bird trying to pick up a piece of cheese. I don't remember anything more about it than that. But this reminds me of that bird trying to pick up that piece of cheese. Anyway, so it comes in at 4.5% alcohol by volume. I think it's just a standard stout. There's nothing all that special about it. This is it here. Nice little head that's kind of sticking around there. Nice lacing on the glass.
4.5% is totally Guinness country.
Oh yeah.
Is this trying to do the Irish stout?
I think it might be. It's not a nitro can.
Okay.
So it doesn't have that going for it, but I mean, still, it looks really creamy. Very dry. I would say this is a little bit more effervescent than a Guinness would be, but not overly effervescent or anything. You can definitely feel the bubbles on your tongue, but that's about it. Really, really dry. I'm detecting almost no sweetness with this. Interestingly, it says on the can that it does have a touch of sweetness. It doesn't register with me. This is probably one of the driest stouts I've ever had. But it is quite flavorful, good mouthfeel. I'm really enjoying it. Very toasty, kind of like roasted malts.
Nice.
I'm enjoying it. It's a very simplistic stout. I mean, there's nothing, groundbreaking with this or anything. It's just a good, solid stout. And if that's what you're in the mood for and you want something that's local, I recommend this.
How dry is it?
Really dry. Really dry. Like my eyes are, I gotta get some Visine.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Tatooine dry.
Tatooine dry. I don't know. I'm gonna need like a moisture evaporator or something.
You need a still suit to drink it.
Yeah. Agua. But thumbs up for me.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Yep.
I haven't opened it yet.
Shane.
Bring me a glass. Sorry, the peanut gallery showed up, started just handing out, give me the beer, and I'm like, I haven't opened it yet. All right, so this evening I am drinking this. This is actually a beer delivered to my doorstep by a friend of the show, Ben Abel. And he went out and bought these a few weeks back and came by. We had some, and they are potent. But it's called the Boris Arabica Coffee Imperial Stout with a much happier looking bird on the side. I'm going to read this out because it's a long story to this particular beer before I open it up. So here we go. Lost in the woods, a weary traveler stumbled upon a great horned bird sitting on a bush covered with red berries. Encouraged by the bird's knowing gaze, the man picked a berry and chewed it. Then, overcome by an extraordinary euphoria and clear vision of his path, he walked all night, returning home with tales of the strange bird and a pocketful of magic berries, smooth and rich with a complex layer of coffee, chocolate, bourbon, and dark malts. This rich ale is brewed for early birds and night owls alike. And it is... always look one's fellows in the eye when toasting their good health. So, Strange Fellows is a brewery, of course, as Alan was saying, in Vancouver. It's not too far from here. I've been to their tasting room a few times, and I'm gonna try this out again. I don't remember this too much because it was the last beer of the day. Hey, Peanut Gallery, you want some beer? It's right here. Come get it before. Don't crush the can. Careful. Gee, you gotta treat beer cans with respect. All right, so basically, here you go. So that is the head that I got on this particular pour, and it's very, very dark. It's very much sort of that motor oil kind of thing. So let's give this the appropriate. Oh my goodness! I mean, to me, this smells a lot like coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Get lost, Putin.
I wish I could find this because I really want to try.
All right, here we go. And by the way, these are almost $20 a can.
What?
Oh.
No.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
For $20 a can, it better be barrel aged.
It is definitely got a bourbon flavor to it. It's got a lot of coffee flavor to it. And it is some ridiculous. Hey, Peanut Gallery, what is the I forgot to read off the alcohol by volume. 10.9%.
Wow.
Or sorry, wait a minute. Hang on, that's not right. That can't be right. 10.3%. Well, there you go. Splitting hairs now. But yeah, so this is a very potent beer, and it's something that I think Locke would be,
Yeah, well,
this
is sounding right up my alley. Except that as you know, because of the time zone difference, I do not do caffeinated beers at this.
Yeah, I mean that's why I've only poured a little bit because it is late at night here, and especially there. But yeah. This one is definitely a keeper. If you can find it, I highly recommend it. I don't know how widespread this particular beer is. I mean, Strange Fellows is here in Victoria. It's around the province. I don't know how far east they've gone, to be honest, in marketing their beer and getting
I
it
have
out,
not seen anything in Ontario yet.
So it is totally worth it. This beer is quite unique. It's fairly new, and it will kick your ass.
The only
like it did to me a couple of weeks back. So
the only things from Strange Fellows that I've seen here locally are just some of their regular staples, but anything that's sort of special like that, I've not seen over here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I understand that when Ben got this beer, he actually got it at I think at the tasting room, like when he actually went there. But I don't think. I haven't seen it anywhere else. Like I see their talisman, I see their the staples of their beer line, but I have not seen this. But
I have
'cause
a
did go
feeling it
looking
may
for it.
only be available at the brewery.
I suspect so because it's gonna kick your ass. It's quite and it's very tasty. It's very close to a barley wine. Like that's kind of where a lot of this is going.
Nice.
So I mean it is a stout. So it's going to be roasted barley, that kind of stuff. Which, by the way, I learned that today from another friend of the show, Julian Price, who I don't know if he's watching tonight, but there you go. We got beer, man. We got beer. We're doing well.
Absolutely.
Dave's got beer. This is what I mean. Like we all four of us here have beer this evening, which is a bit of rarity. So Dave, keep it up.
So before we started the show, we were talking about Locke was talking about how he had a friend who used to work at the Vatican, and we were sort of like asking hypothetical questions. As does the Pope come to the office Christmas party? Who signs the paychecks and everything? And then we started talking about catacombs, and then we stopped so we could start the show. So now let's continue on. So Locke, are there catacombs underneath the Vatican, and what is there?
Well, so there are a lot of things under the Vatican, not least of which being what's under St. Peter's Basilica, which is the ruins of a Mithraic temple, which would tend to agree with the observation that before Christianity became the national Roman cult or religion, as it were, most of the upper echelons of Roman society were involved in things like Mithraism, which was an offshoot of the Zoroastrian tradition. And there's ample evidence that both Christians and the Mithraists were actually using the same worship spaces, which is to say that there must have been crossover before Christianity became, Constantine and the adoption officially as the Roman religion as such. The term religion, interestingly, used to refer before Christianity to the principle by which the gods of other places are presumed to be the same as the gods of Rome, and thus, as long as we can identify the gods with one of the gods of Rome, then people can just continue doing whatever they normally did before. That's what religion meant before Christianity became the only god which was recognized by the Romans. And so if you look at that shift, I mean, and think about how that affected history, it's sort of fascinating, but you can still see shades of the former practice in the way that they tried to sell Christianity to the Norsemen, where they would describe Christ as carrying a great battle axe and marching in, great courage to defeat his foes. And it's all a bit mad when you look at what they sold the Scandinavians as Christianity in the early days. It's bizarre. But anyway, we were talking about what's underneath the Vatican. My suggestion, and I don't know because I've never been, or at least I've never been underneath, is that they've done the same thing that London and other sort of established centers of learning have done, which is to excavate below the ground. And so as much as there is Renaissance and Baroque marble above, I think underneath all of that, there's a good deal of steel and concrete that goes, I would expect, something like 8 stories plus downwards. And that's just the way cities that have a massive cultural footprint on the planet have evolved in most instances. So I'm assuming that the same applies there. If you watch movies like Hudson Hawk, you get nods to that. though I don't know if beyond some of the footage I've seen of the Vatican archives, which evidently they've got things sealed airtight to protect documents that would otherwise be at risk. It's that kind of stuff. So anyway, all very interesting if you're an archivist or if you're interested in the preservation of ancient texts and knowledge.
Or if you're down with conspiracy theories.
Well, sure.
Which is always
I mean, there's no reason to suppose that conspiracy theories are not an absolutely normal activity that goes on day after day all over the world about all kinds of things. I think Adam Smith once observed that two people in the same profession do not engage in lunch without a conspiracy taking place.
I mean, it's so true. It's so true. I mean, the conspiracies surrounding the making of beer are mountainous. You can't climb over them because there's just so much of it, and the mountain of conspiracy of how to make the best beer just keeps growing.
I don't even really care about conspiracy theories. I want to know, do people like the Pope and the Queen and everything, do they run their lives like the rest of us? Like
Not at all.
Are you kidding?
No.
Yeah.
well, no, I mean,
if
if they have to go to the bathroom, do they just go to the bathroom, or do they have like a hired hand that comes and helps?
They used to. Charles II used to joke about that.
Really?
There was literally a groom of the stool. Groom of the stool, ultimately goes around and collects the turds. Yeah. This used to be absolutely the way things were done, and it was a highly envied position because the closer you are in personal bodily function to the reigning monarch, it's presumed the greater your ultimate influence if you should choose somehow to exercise it. How would that play out? It's a little difficult to imagine nowadays. In Charles II's case, he actually joked to in public once that these foreign monarchs, they'll inevitably have someone who goes around collecting their shit. He did in fact have a person who was a groom of the stool. Whether or not he allowed him to collect his feces, I think the fact that he would make jokes about it in public suggests maybe at that point that was an anachronism. So and this is sort of 1660s or so. So anyway,
the groom of the stool. What a shitty job. Was the most intimate of English monarchs' courtiers, responsible for assisting the king in excretion and hygiene.
Imagine that on your CV.
To be honest, I've never known this at all. Wow.
But you have to think today. I mean, like, the Queen is how old? Like, she's like in her 90s now or something?
Yeah.
94, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't imagine that she's like completely independent. She's never
been independent.
She's got mobility issues amongst other things.
I mean, she at least has one of those like really big plastic like seat lifter things.
Yeah, no, I think you can assume that she has as much assistance as anybody could really hope for
at that age.
Well, she actually just yesterday or the day before actually was in the news talking about now that she's 95. I was wrong. I was a little bit off. That she's getting back to doing some work, but she can't move too much was what she said. And the news yesterday was covering it a little bit about how she couldn't move, so therefore she could have somebody. I suspect in modern it would be somebody like a medical professional.
Yeah, I imagine
I don't think
somebody who's minimally an RMT, but yeah.
I would suspect she probably has an army of medical people.
Yeah.
Not just one or two, but I mean,
Not
the
that
queen.
that's always been an asset.
To the queen.
If you read the demise of some former British queens relating to their medical professionals, the one of Queen Caroline, one of the more progressive and Enlightenment figures amongst British royalty, she was wife to George II. Which, God, the patience involved in something like that, I think, must have been considerable. To add to which, her son Frederick was, for all that I'm sympathetic politically to the court that he held, there's no way around it. He was a fucking nightmare. He was sort of like what you imagine.
So he was a nightmare. Why?
Because he was a brat, just an appalling brat. Constantly on about showing up his parents about how English he was because they were German, right? In fact, that was the main sort of thrust of his being anti his parents was sort of his main position in life. He died relatively young. It's often supposed that it was of natural causes, but when you administer natural causes, such as catching something like TB, can you administer TB by poisoning one's food with infected material? Yeah, that can happen. So did he die of natural causes? Well, yeah, he died of natural causes.
Everybody dies
of natural causes that were naturally administered? I mean, you want to talk conspiracy theories. Take a look at, I would suggest that the same is true of Henry Stuart. Everybody marvels at the destructiveness of the reign of Charles II or Charles I rather, in the sense that you had a civil war, ending in a republic and his own execution. So that's pretty disastrous. What not everybody properly understands is that he was never meant to be the one that inherited the throne. He had an elder brother named Henry, who everybody approved of, whose health was said to be excellent. Charles is poor. His death happened, I think, at the age of maybe 14, something like that, maybe 15. He went swimming, came home, had dinner, broke out in... I think this was another tuberculosis. Was this tuberculosis? I think it was tuberculosis. In any event, the simple point being, there was another poisoning at the time, roughly contemporary with this, by what was her name? Kerr. Yeah, it was Lady Kerr. Lady Kerr was convicted and I think executed at the Tower for a poisoning involving the application of infected, that is to say, diseased material. So poisonings might, everybody today thinks of a poison as being something chemical, and if you were applying disease to something, that'd be like germ warfare or biological, right? Right, but could you use that to assassinate somebody? And the simple fact of the matter is, yes, you could. And so the question is, did the course of English history change such that the wrong child ended up on the throne? There was a war ending in a republic. Did somebody architect that? Was there somebody behind that? It's a bizarre thought, and one that does obviously suggest, what could there have been a conspiracy? Well, conspiracy by who? For what? To what end? Republicans? I don't know. Perhaps. I mean, they got their way for a full decade before people smarten up and recognize that that's a fucking deformed and senseless type of government. But yeah, I mean, these things. There's room for speculation when you look at the events that led us to here, and and where is here exactly, except on the razor's edge, looking at an actual shooting war between potentially Russia and the United States, because they've both got troops in the region, and one of them just lied about moving them out.
So, children, when you're doing your homework tonight, I would like to see your essays about Lady Kerr on Locke's desk by Friday at 4 p.m. And don't forget, that's Eastern time. I don't want any of this stuff where you turn it in at 4 o'clock.
Theories at any point. Because
I mean,
obviously you know all of the same things that I know about, what happened and when.
But you're the one that's actually written about it in academic kind of ways. So
And yes, that is the power and the weakness of the history nerd.
Wow.
So what do you think, Alan? Dave, what kinds of things are would you take from the world of conspiracy theories? Actually, let me back it up a second. What conspiracy theories have you heard the most, I don't know, in the last decade?
The ones that I've heard the most over the past decade, probably related to 9/11.
Yeah, that's
which,
true.
I don't buy at all any of them, because to pull off a job like that, you know how many people would have to be involved? And if it was like an inside job is what I'm saying. And all of them would have had to have been kept quiet in some way.
There's a
like
really
next to impossible to do.
Well, there's a really good video done by I've subscribed to a couple of these guys. They're blacksmiths, and they make stuff. They hammer it out and stuff, and it's fascinating to watch. At least I think it's fascinating to watch. But anyway, there's one of them did this very short video a couple of years ago, where he got up. The video was sort of, he didn't really say much at the beginning, and he had like a long bar of something, and he heated it up, or he put it into his anvil, tried to bend it, hit it with a bunch of things, and then he said something like, "This is a bar of construction steel that was used inside of the building that was formerly known as the East Tower," or whatever the names are, and then he heated it up. He's like, "I'm going to heat this thing up to 1200 degrees." Which is supposedly whatever the degree limit of a what jet fuel would burn at, and so he cuts ahead, and he's like, okay, now he's measuring the temperature of the bar, and he goes, so here we go. We keep getting told that the steel's too strong, it's not going to break or bend or shatter or whatever. Because the fuel is only burning at a certain temperature and steel melts and then he takes it he goes like this with his pinky and bends the bar over. And then he had like tongs in his hand or something, and he goes, 9/11 was not an inside job, you idiots. And then he threw his thing down and walked out of frame. And I'm just like, but it was interesting, just how he tackled it, because he's like somebody who works with metal every single day, and he's like, it gets soft. I'm sorry, it just because it doesn't melt at that temperature doesn't mean it's not going to flex in a very significant way.
Metal is always malleable.
Exactly.
So the hotter it gets, the more malleable it gets.
So I mean, the biggest question then, after that is Dave, what did you do?
Was 9/11 a conspiracy?
Not an American.
The objective answer is, at a minimum, yes.
Well, by definition, it was a conspiracy, because it was a conspiracy of individuals who
had a
hijacked planes and
fired with him to get on airplanes.
Yeah.
So definitely at least one conspiracy.
The controlled demolition of the two towers.
That there are two or three. I don't know. Yeah, sure, maybe. I don't know. Does it matter very much? You see, the problem with conspiracy theorists that I see is when they get to the point where they imagine that it's all one conspiracy, or that there's somebody really, out there manipulating.
There's a puppet master out there.
Master puppeting it all. The real problem with all of that is I think that's wishful thinking. It's naive to hope for that. The truth is, we're completely fucking out of control. There's nobody at the fucking wheel. Not now, not 100 years ago, not 100 years before that. We're a species gone mad, making massive change that we have no idea how to control. No idea. That's the really scary thing. And nobody, the thing with conspiracy theories, they have the vain hope that there's somebody actually controlling it. Do you see that? I don't.
Well, I think, and this is something that I've noticed, and I've really kind of figured it out as I'm getting older here.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I always looked up to my parents, of course, as being brilliant. To me, in my mind, my parents were brilliant. They knew everything, and I had to listen to their wisdom. And it was always people in power, people in authoritative positions always knew better than people who weren't in those positions. And the simple fact is that they don't. They don't know. They're flying by the seat of their pants. They may have some experience to draw on, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make the right decisions moving forward. They're learning just as much as you are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying here? So
yeah.
I think people who are not in positions of power, they put too much what's the word I'm looking for? Reliance in leaders. To that leaders know absolutely what they're doing. They have everything mapped out. They know how things are going to go, but they don't. They don't at all. They're flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah,
big time.
Cheers to that.
And they're not any more qualified than us.
We used to be able to say that. Now it is us.
Yeah. You know what's the best part about that is that picturing myself, say being magically elected to the position of prime minister of our country would terrify me. Like there's no way that I would ever feel qualified to do that in any way, shape, or form.
Well, the thing is that you are absolutely qualified to do that, but the problem is that you have to have such a thick skin to do that kind of a job now. I think there's very few people who have that thick of a skin.
There's a ton of truth in that. And in that respect, like it's like being a celebrity, except that Yeah, it's...
Sometime you were a celebrity already.
It's like being a celebrity, and it turns out that the celebrity you are is Alec Baldwin, and you just shot somebody by mistake.
Yeah.
Every day.
Elected officials are supposed to be just like a Joe average. It's supposed to be like just one of us, right?
Well,
that's what they do. They represent.
That is exactly right, and that is how the Westminster system was drafted in its original. Here's what's upsetting to me is you look online and you'll get people who should know better, like The Economist, talking about the loss of faith in political parties as if this is somehow evidence that democracy is on the decline. Sorry, political parties? They're the most anti-democratic thing that was born in that system. It's like talking about people having lost faith in capitalism because they're not happy with anti-competitive megacorporations. You know what I mean? Like, you're on the wrong track here. Democracy used to be about electing individuals to represent geographic regions.
Yes.
Right? And now, today, it's about talk puppets who represent ideological conglomerations. Usually conglomerations that don't, if you actually care about the ideology, don't make any sense. Things like Republicans who believe in the death penalty and hate abortion. Or the problem is, in order to succeed at the game of bribing people to voting in bloc, which is what we're talking about when we talk about political parties. That's how they were invented. That's what Sir Robert Walpole actually did to actually start the position that we now call prime minister. When you get everybody to vote in bloc along party lines, it means that you need to dumb down the issues such that everything is pre-qualified into you're either on this side or you're on this side. In advanced societies like Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc., it would be this side or this side or this side. So it's not as simple as black against white or wrong against right or left against right or dumb against smart or like the problem with having only two parties is nobody can play moderator between those two parties without being suspect of being partisan to one of them. If you have at least three parties, no matter how useless each of those three parties might be in terms of presenting a reasonable approach to complicated issues, at least if you've got three of them, one of them can potentially play moderator with the other two.
I mean, I don't think it's feasible. It's never going to happen. But if we abolish political parties, I think that would be a huge step in the right direction.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Instead, people just ran for public office, and you didn't, and you wouldn't have career politicians. It would just be a regular Joe average.
Do you imagine this, if with every election debate, they had a discrete section where all the candidates have to answer questions, but they're factual questions, and they actually get buzzed if they get them wrong.
Here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see political debates, be more like the dating game, where you got like the moderator asks the questions, but the contestants are all behind like a blind or something, so you don't know who's answering what. You can't see them, you can't judge them on appearances or anything. You just judge them based on the answer.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And we have to get Chuck. You have to get Chuck Woolery to be the moderator if he's still alive.
The big thing that we all have to remember that's critically important to the show is that the most important quote ever said on our show is Dave will rule us with a pillowy soft dictatorship. So
Hey,
I gotta say, I welcome
how can
Dave.
you argue with that shit? Pillowy soft
It's
dictatorship. Who's
true.
right?
It's very true.
Who's
There
got
is
anything
no
bad to say
way
about that.
that we could survive. We
I
can't
bet you.
survive
I
without
bet you Greta would approve of that.
She probably
Hey,
would.
Shane.
Hey Greta, do you approve of Dave's pillowy shop? Pillowy shop? Oh my God! What-
Hey,
Pillowy soft dictatorship?
pillowy shoppy, pillowy shop.
I approve. All right, Greta approves.
Excellent. Here we go.
Bang! Jeez.
That is not pillowy soft dictatorship.
Every time you talk about dictatorships, Putin shows up. I don't know what to do. I mean,
That guy.
hey! You gotta watch
I
out
gotta
there,
give
Dave.
Putin this.
You almost-
You know,
Shane,
for
I
all
think
the,
you have too much fun with that.
as people about to start a war go, he is refreshingly unshouty, isn't he?
Unshouty? Well, I mean, I
Not
don't
very
watch
shouty.
state TV
I
in
love the
Russia,
fact
but
that he's not really very shouty.
And you
There
know
are
what?
all these fucking assholes in the West going shouting about this and shouting about that and fucking saying fuck words and fucking this and fucking that. Putin's
That's-
Putin's
that's
not-
Dave's
he
election
looks
platform.
for war, but
Get
no,
ready for the fucking.
He talks fucking relaxed. doesn't he?
Dave's pillowy soft dictatorship.
Somehow that
he
seems
looks damn
appropriate.
good without a shirt on too.
That's true. Dave, you got to be shirtless when you're campaigning, though. I mean, that's gonna be key to your demographic.
Okay.
I don't know what your
Riding
demographic
on a
is.
horse.
but,
I don't know what my demographic is, but okay.
I picture you at the back of a train, just kind of like screaming
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
and shouty on the back of a train.
I'm done with that.
Um,
Amtrak.
I mean, mainly it's like, what? What? I didn't hear you. What? I can't hear you. I'm on the back of a train. So yeah, I just picture you doing that for 20,000 miles, and that just being your platform, and you'll end up getting elected. I mean, that's how it is.
Oh my God, no.
I just picture Dave day 2. Like all males in Canada must suddenly wear nipple lasers. So,
I don't know if I understand how nipple lasers work.
well, the technology has yet to be invented. So
Okay, but
I get. It's actually
in broad concept. Do the nipples shoot out of the lasers, or
well, you got to remember,
lasers that
If Dave gets elected, he'll have to assign a minister, like create a ministry for that, the Ministry of Nipple Lasers,
Done.
an R&D division.
Well, don't. The reason I think of nipple lasers for some reason is from Time Bandits, where the evil genius, who's the big bad, talks about how he would have run the world if God gave him the chance, and it's like day 1 we'd have lasers, at day 2 it'd be like nipples on men. What the hell's with that? Take those away. And I always kind of join those together. And the only reason it's in my mind as well is that I understand that there is a Time Bandits TV series being worked on right now. So I think that to me kind of makes me happy.
Gilliam involved.
Hey, it's Keith. Keith, friend of the show. Keith decided, he's got. I'm assuming baby is sleeping, and of course Keith is like a political genius. So Keith, why don't you run on the Green Party platform? I picture. Hey Keith, can you give us information about what's going to happen with the Green Party in this country?
I think he's gonna have like.
So what do you guys think? Is the Green Party done?
He's
I don't even know.
No.
I don't think they're done.
No, but it's time for some. It's time for a massive rethink.
Here we go. This is the new party brought to you by Keith, the Slam Party of Canada. And yes, the Green Party will get decimated in the next election. Yeah, the Slam Party of Canada, I fully support that one because there's got to be at least some sort of sexy dance, a la, Michael Jackson's Thriller, that every time that there's some sort of, political speech, like he has to, Keith has to walk in with some sort of, dance that's choreographed to the T with 30 or 40 dancers behind him. And then he just gets up to the podium. He's like, yo, hey, how's it going? Good to be here. Sorry, what was that? Trudeau? Who? Oh, you. Oh, the hair. Right. Yeah. Well, you're a doofus, aren't you? So anyway,
He does have good hair.
he does have good hair. I have no idea what to make of. We have barely any leaders in this country right now, and I feel that we need a reboot. We need to reset the political spectrum of this country.
90s dancers.
90s dancers is the first step. We got to have our own. What are they called on? Was it
the solid gold dancers?
Solid gold dancers, the fly girls or something.
Dancers, yes.
And now we're gonna take a break from the debate to watch these dances.
We need Quebecois Italo disco.
Hey, it's better than what we have. I mean, come on, when you really think about it. But that's just my opinion. I'm so sad now. This is terrible.
Well, if you walk around Toronto right now, evidently there's a bunch of individuals who think that maybe everybody's excited for a communist party being a major player in the politics of Canada.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the posters look ridiculous. It's like literally one of those some bearded fucking dink who clearly isn't Lenin, angularly that way, and I'm assuming
I can just picture it. Holding a hammer.
Keep going, keep going.
This guy,
A dixicle?
this guy will have done. He'll be in his 5th year of his bachelor's degree at the U of. No, it'll be at Ryerson. That's where it'll be.
Of course it will be.
Yeah, and so he's in his 5th year, and I'm guessing he used the school photocopiers to make the posters. Is sort of where I'm at right now, but it's sort of hard to say. But yeah, I mean, because workers of the world really want to get behind a concept that drove something like 10 million of them to their deaths in China in the 50s. Yeah, it's for the workers, isn't it? Yeah. Great. Yeah, I mean, but only something as stupid as a bunch of, God, what are they? Anti-vaxxers? They say evidently funded by a bunch of Yanks. Had the bright idea because they're they're the same idiots on the other side of the fence, only the ones that have gone through having kids and having an actual proletariat work life now find themselves instead of being protesters on the left side are now protesters on the right side of the fence, and because they're all over 50, they came up with the bright idea. Yeah, you know what? Protests? Yeah, really fucking hard to get rid of trucks. Big trucks too. Yeah, semis. Let's drive a bunch of semis and yeah, we'll do a protest with semis, dude. Yeah, that'd be rad, man.
I was actually
that one
was
again?
it on the news last night that most of the semis are gone now?
Oh, are
They
they?
were like
I don't know. I haven't
4 or
been-
five
I haven't
thousand,
been
and
paying
now
attention,
they're down to like
frankly.
only a few.
You know, like the only time I ever hear about it is from international news because, you know, they all imagine that this is like the most fascinating thing ever because it's the first time they've heard of Canadians not being polite.
That is true. I've actually I've seen a few things where they definitely are like, wow, they're kind of feisty. What's with that? Like what happened? What did you guys like get angry all of a sudden? Like who, you know, did your beer supply run out? You know, that kind of thing. And I'm just like, actually, yeah. To be honest, if our beer supply ran out in this country, we'd be very very unhappy people.
Kind
But
Just for the benefit of our guest here, yeah, Ryerson alumni guilty as well. You know, I'm just having fun here, but
but the now oh my god, I had a question, a thought, a comment, and I can't think of it now, so never mind. But what did you guys? We actually have not mentioned the truckers at all. What did you guys? What was your sort of reaction to all of that going
well,
on?
you know, aside from the fact that they have trucks, I don't think they're really fucking truckers. You know, I think it's just, you know, like it's the same old shit. It's refreshing in this respect that I was starting to feel like an old codger constantly complaining about youth demonstrations or student demonstrations or, you know, any of that shit. And so the fact that I get now to complain about old fart demonstrations and, you know, like, I guess it's different in that respect. So, you know, it's adding some richness to my life in that respect. Beyond that, it's sort of like, it's a special kind of fucking amazing fool that imagines, okay, if I shout my opinion loud enough, obviously I'll attract people to my side, right? If I just stamp my feet and vehemently shout what I think enough, other people will think it too. Something fucking lizard brained about that. Like, how do you arrive there? I'd be fascinated to know. I mean, evidently these are not people who have sales careers, right? Who
Oh, that's very true.
These are people who have careers at all.
Yeah.
I'd wager a bet that most of the, like 95% of them on their pickup trucks have the little testicles hanging off of the hinge.
Oh yeah, the nuts on the back.
Yeah.
The
It just seems like that's the crowd, right?
the most amazing of that phenomenon that I ever saw was in Victoria. It was literally a mannequin's head with a gag ball in its mouth stuck under the back end of a pickup truck. It's just like that. I mean, you know, I mean, I would never do that because the cops for some reason like pulling me over anyway. So that just seems like I don't know how much attention that guy got from the police, but fuck's sake, literally a gag ball in the mouth of a mannequin head stuffed up anyway.
Yeah.
The echo chambers definitely do not help. I don't know how to recover from that. My brain hurts. Save me, somebody.
I'm out of beer.
You out of beer? All right, I'm out of beer too. So, I'd like to thank our sponsor again for this particular episode. That is the Supreme Evil Genius, who is now sponsoring the show. Thank you, Mr. Devil. Or if you prefer, the United States Space Command, the Colonial Space Corps, is coming to save us from ourselves. How do you finish the show? Follow us, do stuff. Make sure you come back next Wednesday. Follow us on every social media platform ever conceived. And as always, and send us money. And Alan, as always, take us out.